Now I'll go to Dr. Nanda Kishor before coming to Professor Narpat in the end. Nanda Kishor ji, it's the same question to you in terms of what needs to change in terms of mindset, institutions, etc. One thing I want to add is the ability to do critical analysis of other countries. That, is it where it should be, or do you think it's lacking? For example, other countries always comment about our society, our culture, our politics, everything. They have a number of think tanks which do this in a very rigorous and professional way. But do we have the infrastructure and the institutions to actually look at other countries' history, culture, and what are their ambitions, etc., and come up with the goods so that those can become important critical inputs for policy making? So you can take up this question also in your answer, Dr. Nandakishore.
Okay, thank you for that. This thing, what I see here is the aspects that were brought by Madhavji. I think it just brings back us to a particular scenario, what we have looked at, the type of disruption that has come into the world order. And then I'll come back to the question that you have posed with regard to the ability that we are trying to, or what we need to augment at this juncture to move forward that one. I think the first and foremost is there is an amount of disruption that has come into the economic world order. That is what I see. Economic order itself is going that way. Because on the one hand, we need certain multilateral institutions for the prestige and for many other contacts and other things. But if you look at from a very pragmatic approach, I think it's much more in bilateral that we earn or we gain, because we will be very, very specific. We will accept what we have to do. But the thing is, there are two layers of looking at any sort of commitment or our own position in the world order, where in one, we are trying to look at what immediately we will be able to gain. But the thing is, with power comes responsibility, and with power comes expectations. With power and visibility comes also vulnerability. That is the other problem. Either you can withdraw and then you can just do your job and then try to be that way. Or if you are ambitious to go to the next level, you need to accept certain responsibilities and go. I think during these responsibilities and then being part of multilateral institutions, I think you need to invest yourself much more and you need to make commitments. I think that's what exactly we're trying to do with regard to the environmental component, where climate change and many other things are, and we are taking responsibilities, because you can't be doing both. You can't expect guests to come home and then rice not to get over. Now that doesn't work. So that's where I think India has taken up a scenario where it says, yes, I want to be a power, I want to be a great power, but at the same time, it cannot say that I will not be able to take responsibilities in certain things. I think when it comes to the question of responsibility, I think there are many other limitations and contradictions from resources that we have and the type of reliance that we have in a complex interdependent world, where we ourselves are not able to move towards what we had anticipated. Let's say something like Atmanirbhar Bharat to many other things. We still haven't been able to. We were talking about Israel. Right? If 49 to 50% of Israel's defense production come to India, that means where have we reached to? That means there is still an asymmetric relationship that is existing. Maybe the business is what is keeping us together, but there is something that we need to have a win-win scenario is what I think here, because we are facing a sort of scenario where there is an amplified role of technological development, threatened global social safety as well as security. There are many more negative sides of the story in the world order that we are living in than the positive sides of it. And positive sides or positive things cannot happen in isolation. That is another problem in international relations itself, because there is this renewed focus on protecting global environment, and then also trying to look at the relevance of institutions and nationalism and many other things that we are talking about. I don't think that's the flavor of only our nation or just Europe or anyone. I think across the spectrum, nationalism is a flavor of the 21st century itself. Now, then what are these determining factors that are going to refine or that are going to define the world order that we are trying to look at are geoeconomics, geopolitics, resurgence of some sort of an aid diplomacy. Without that, it cannot happen. I think that's where I was mentioning complex interdependence, where we need to help each other. The way if human beings are dying like flies, and I don't think we can just leave and look at only the business part of it. There where I think multilateralism comes in, and then environmental protection. Now, strengthening economic self-reliance is perhaps what subtle way I think Ramadaji was hinting at, saying that until and unless we become strong, until and unless we will be able to replace some of those people whom we feel are challengers to us, whether it's a neighborhood or an extended neighborhood or elsewhere. If we are complaining about someone, we should be in a position to replace them. We should be in a position to go there. For that, internally, we need to become stronger from the economic perspective. I think without economic strength, or without what is the economic self-reliance and managing the supply chain in international system, I don't think we'll be able to stand in front of China. I think that's exactly where I'm coming to. Second is diplomacy and collaboration. That is very, very important and a crucial component here. Whenever we take certain decisions, I think we need to also collectively take certain countries, at least, who even for their diplomatic interests or economic interests, they are with us, or business interests, they are with us. But yet, if they're able to voice for us, I think that itself is a very important component. And then playing that leadership role that we want to. But none of these can happen in isolation. That's what I'm trying to hint at. All these can have to be complementary to each other, whether it's hard power, soft power, every other aspect that we are trying to look at, each of them have to be complementary. If we are not economically strong, we can't afford to spend on our defense. If without spending on defense, without being powerful, I don't think we are even respected about it. So I think everything is like a stage process. It's a cyclical one after the other. It has to come in, and India has to get probably like the way Deng Xiaoping spoke about, we black cat or white cat. I think as long as it catches mice, we should be able to be okay with it. I think India should just go with it. This is what I learned from my guru, Professor Nalapat, who is also here. He will be able to reflect on those fronts much better than me. Where, as I mentioned again, it is the rule-based world order that India has to push. Anything else, probably the world or the nations that are unable to bear with certain growth that India is having, probably will try pushing us to the contradictions. I think India's biggest issue is to overcome that contradiction, look like a unified system, and then take forward certain aspirations that it has. The three-layered one I keep talking about, there is aspirational, there is operational component. What we aspire, how we approach to that one, what type of institutions that we are building is equally important. On the last part that you asked about, do we have the type of think tanks that we are, I think slowly that is coming in. We still don't see a great critical mass that is able to write and continuously put across what it wants to. That persistence is still missing in a lot of Indian think tanks. I think there where we need to augment, we need to put in a lot of money, invest, because one important component is if students have to study international relations, if they have to study foreign policy, if they have to think about the country and contribute, it also should be incentivized. If there is no possibility for them to get into that and then think that I can contribute, probably will not be able to sustain. So for that, think tank culture has to come in a big way. And then think tank and policy making both have to go hand in hand. I think without that, it doesn't happen. A classic example is the United States. They put up one word, Asia pivot. Then you will see 100 papers bombarding Asia pivot, and then rest of the world will speak about Asia pivot. They say something on encirclement. 20 think tanks will talk about encirclement, then we will talk. That is not happening here. They still, I think, think tanks are trying to live in isolation or in silos. But I see the type of institution that Professor Nalapat has built, where we are trying to bring in Indian perspective. We're making students to use Western theories. We're not methodologically fanatics or anything. We're still using IR theories, which are coming from the West, but we are trying to bring an Indian perspective. What is good for our nation? What is good for our national interest? I think that has to come, and I'm sure, I think in days to come, if this is taken seriously, we'll have a new tribe of individuals who will be able to contribute. Think tank culture will pick it up, and then in a coherent manner, we'll be able to contribute what India aspires to be and where it wants to lead. I'll stop it here. Thank you.